Good evening, guys, and happy Friday to all of your sunshiny faces. My hair is a little crazy right now because I was actually wearing it down. Well, I was wearing a hat, so I kind of have some like sort of crazy hat hair, and then I was wearing it down too, and so it got all kinds of messed up today. But that is because we went to the football game, which was freezing cold. It was ridiculous. Yesterday when we went to Meijer, I was wearing shorts and a long sleeve shirt, and I was like, people are probably gonna even look at me strange wearing a long sleeve shirt because it was still so warm yesterday. Like, it was like mid 70s maybe, at least yesterday, and the day before that was like 80 degrees out, and it was hot on like whatever day that was. But like the last couple days really has been, you know, prior to yesterday and today, has been in like the 80s. And so, like I said, yesterday was like a nice kind of cool down. Today was freezing cold, guys. It was so insanely cold. I wore probably about like at least 5+ layers today to go to the football game. And the crummy thing is that I did have gloves. I wore gloves. However, they were not the gloves that I wanted. I've got 2 pairs of gloves. One are much thicker, much warmer pair of gloves, which was awesome. And those were the ones that I had today. However, because I had to control and operate the camera, I was convinced that it was going to end up, like I was going to end up hitting other buttons, or I was going to end up like not hitting the right button or whatever with those gloves on, because they're very thick. And the buttons like that I have to press are kind of small. So then I was like, well, maybe I can try and find my other gloves that are like a thinner, like sort of like a fleece glove kind of thing, whereas the other ones were like almost like, I don't know if they were actual wool, but like more like wool knit kind of like ones like that, and they're like double-sided, like double insulated, so they were like really thick. So like I said, like I was hoping though for my thinner pair to at least keep my hands like somewhat warmer, but like, you know, again, have them so that they're thin enough where it's not gonna impede me pressing the buttons. And I couldn't find those ones. They might be in the bin in the living room that has all of our like winter hats, gloves, and things like that in there, but I just kind of browsed the surface and I didn't see them, so I don't know where else they could be, unless they're in my closet. But I don't know, and it's hard to get in there because I got so much stuff right now, and again too with all of our moving things and stuff like that. Like, I was surprised I actually found all of my clothes too, because I was like, I'm gonna not be able to find like a jacket or sweatshirt or a rain poncho, whatever, because it was raining while we were driving there. We got there a little bit late to the frost off game, but like we were planning on not getting there as early because we knew it was going to be raining, so like we didn't want to sit in the rain and then have to, you know, be like sitting in the cold and then be all soaked from earlier. So we got there actually the perfect time, because like I said, we missed maybe like the first quarter of the frost off game, which again too, I don't even know if it was actually raining at the game, but it was at least raining on the way there. But like I said, so we ended up getting there about that time. We sat in the bleachers for that game, and then the what's it called, the varsity game, we ended up sitting in the end zone. And like I said, I didn't have gloves on, but it was so cold out today, guys. I had a hat, I had let's see, I was wearing a tank top underneath this, then I had this on, which is like flannel, or not, like a thermal kind of like very thick, nice, warm, like long sleeve shirt. Then I had another long sleeve shirt on over that, which was just like a regular like t-shirt kind of long sleeve shirt. Then over that I had a fleece zip up, and then over that I had a sweatshirt, like the school sweatshirt. Then over that, because originally when we got there, like I said, it was like kind of like I thought it was gonna maybe keep raining, and actually I think at the very end of the frost off game we did feel a couple like raindrops, but it never actually like rained. But I was wearing a what's it called, like a rain poncho kind of thing. It's like a rain jacket almost, though. It's a very nice like zip up kind of, like not just like a rain poncho, it was nicer than that. But it's not super expensive. My dad actually has one. I didn't know. He said he would actually give it to me to wear next week, because it's supposed to actually rain for the football game next week if the weather continues like again what it says it's planned for. Because I thought originally it wasn't actually supposed to get cold until tomorrow. Like that's what I saw, I think, in the forecast for like last week, or like you know, because they have like the 14-day or 10-day forecast, whatever it is. And so when I looked on that prior, I think it wasn't supposed to get cold like it is today until actually tomorrow. So it's like, okay, the football game will be chilly, but it won't be this freezing cold, like we're winter weather kind of. Which I told you guys, I was like, I really don't want it to go from being summer weather to being winter weather, and that's what happened. We got no fall at all. It's literally now, like, it's weird though, because we had, like, you know, I think the second game or third game of the season, whatever it was like that. And then all of a sudden it ended up moving into it still being hot. Like, I was debating last Friday, I think, whether or not I was going to wear shorts. And then I was like, no, maybe I'll wear athletic leggings, like, because they're not like full, like it was like shorter, you know, like they're not like you know, ankle pants or like ankle leggings. They're like shorter, more like capris kind of. So I was like, that would be nice. And then I might have put jeans on though, I'm not entirely sure, but I know I didn't like bundle up or anything like that last week. And like I said, I was even debating whether or not shorts was like a smart option to wear for last week because it was so warm out. And so like I said, that's the crazy thing, is that you can have a game like that and then all of a sudden the next week you're in 12 layers. So like I said, I wore the rain poncho though over that. So I don't know, you guys have to count how many layers was that, like close to 5 layers at least, I think. So, and then I wore leggings, and then I wore jeans over my leggings. And then I wasn't wearing my super thick leggings that I have. They're just kind of like thinner, like regular fabric leggings. And I have another one that are more, they're almost like thermal leggings. And I've had them for like a really long time, but I normally only wear them over my jeans, or under my jeans when I have like football. Like, I don't normally just wear them to wear them, I just wear them as layers. And then I wore 3 pairs of socks, and like I said, I had the gloves with me, but I wasn't really able to, like I said, I was scared I wasn't going to be able to hit the buttons because of the gloves being on. But oh, side notes, the varsity team lost. We kind of knew that was going to happen. This team was undefeated, and it kind of stunk because we ended up giving up sort of like 3 special teams touchdowns. But at halftime, it could have been like Jack said too, had we not given up. It was just kind of like playing this team, we just had to like not have mistakes, and we could have really been in the game. It was like we had some mistakes that we really couldn't come back from, and against a really good team, you can't. Like, again too, if we had played perfect, flawless, smart football, we probably could have at least, you know, lost, you know, I'm gonna say we could have won, but we also could have lost by maybe like 1 or 2 touchdowns. Would have been like really, even just like, you know, again, really good bragging rights to be like we were right there in that with this team. And again too, at halftime, like Jack was saying, it could have been 16-6. That was, we had scored 6, and then I think they had maybe 3 or 4 touchdowns or something like that. I want to say it was like 21-6 or something like that. Like, it was actually somewhat of a close game at halftime. But again too, it was just like we ended up kind of, you know, again doing some you know, had some not smart football plays and stuff like that, as far as you know, like that kind of stuff goes. So again, this is actually the only, I think, undefeated team in our conference right now. But like my dad was saying, there were some things that like probably could have, again, if we done things differently, like my dad was saying, I think, or maybe they're the one of 2 undefeated teams. I think they're playing an undefeated team next week. They might be one of 2 undefeated teams, but I think they're playing the other undefeated team, or else the one that's like only lost 1 game or something like that. But like my dad was kind of saying too, it seemed like, I think, the first game of the season and the other team that we played that's like, again too, in the top 3 really in our conference, like they kind of seemed better. But I think that they lost to this team. I think that at least one of the other teams that are lower than them, even though when we played them, it was more tough for us, versus this team seemed like, again too, had we not made some of our dumb mistakes, we probably actually, like the defense, surprisingly, there's actually a kid on that team that's like last year committed to Notre Dame football. So like really good, but like the defense was actually able to kind of like shut him down, like, and actually had some really good plays against him. He plays both offense and defense, and so like there was a couple of, you know, again, like plays where I was like, oh my goodness, like they're targeting this kid. I was like, he's probably gonna get the football, and I was like, oh wow, like our defense stopped him, you know, or, you know, like they got an interception at one point too. I don't know if it was when they were targeting him or not, but like again too, there were some opportunities there where I was like, you know, again, our defense kind of showed up really well against a kid that's, again too, like Notre Dame college football kid. That's pretty crazy. And it wasn't like the, you know, college Notre Dame kid football show tonight. It was, you know, like I said, they had other playmakers on the team too, and those were the ones that kind of made some of the plays because our defense was able to kind of shut this other kid down. I want to say he had I know at least one touchdown. I want to say maybe he had 2 of them. But again too, it was, I think, a really good effort by our team to, you know, like I said, kind of, you know, like show up against a school and, you know, again, somebody that has a player like that. And I think that's crazy too, to have committed to Notre Dame like last year when you're a junior, because I think he's a senior this year. So like again too, we knew that this was going to be a tough game, but the last 2 games are really, really important, because that means that if we win at least one of the next 2 games, hopefully both of them, but at least one of the next 2, we will have an opportunity to go to the state playoffs this year, which has not happened in like over 20 years. It's been over 2 decades, I think, since the last time. I want to say maybe 2002 was the last time they qualified, or at least I think had 5 wins. That doesn't always necessarily mean that you will get in. If you have 6, I think you are shoo-in for getting in. There might be very rare cases, but I think it comes down to like playoff points, weight of schedule-y kind of like thing like that. But it, like, you know, again, it comes down to certain things. So you could still be 5-4 with a winning record on the season and still not actually make the playoffs. So we're hoping that we will still be able to, though, because you know, like I said, if we can win 1 or 2 of the next games, it might be a really good, you know, like I said, opportunity for that. However, so like I said, that was the update for the football. As far as the update from the camera woman's point of view, we were not, I'm like, it's like Pandora's box, guys, with this camera, I swear. And I feel so bad because I don't, like last year they used it. They had, I think one of the coaches that isn't on the coaching staff anymore was doing it last year. And I don't remember ever seeing them like always having to run over and go and fix the camera and stuff like that all the time. Or even too, if it was him fixing it and stuff like that, like I didn't notice it that much last year. I feel so bad always being like, something happened, this isn't working, like whatever it is. Today, I think my mom suggested this too, and then later on, one of the coaches that kind of is in charge of like doing the camera, like I think he's one of like the AV like teachers or something like that. I think he might work for the school, or he just is like an AV person sort of, but he's like good with like all the camera equipment and stuff like that, all the cords, you know, whatever, that kind of stuff. Knows how to hook everything up, which is awesome. And so I feel so bad having to bother him multiple times and being like, this thing wasn't working, that wasn't working, whatever. But today, he had suggested this too. My mom was saying it to me earlier. It might have been because it was so cold out that the camera, the like motor, wasn't working. So it like the camera part sits on top of this motorized base that like sort of moves, so it like tilts down so that you can see like furthermore what's right in front of you versus like further back, so you can see like what's across the field over to the either side, whatever, and it spins it. Then I can zoom in with the camera, hold it sort of like you do like a Nintendo Switch, or like, you know, like sort of like that, I guess is how I would describe it. It's got the little screen in the middle and all that stuff, but like the one side controls like the motorized base, and the other side controls the like the camera functions, because that cord goes to like the actual camera that's at the top, and so that controls my zoom and like that kind of stuff. Well, everything was moving so slow. I was also fighting the wind because on top of it being 40, I think it got down to 43 degrees, so it was really cold today. But on top of that, we were fighting wind. It was windy out. So every once in a while the camera would just be like this, perfectly fine. All of a sudden it started going this way. And like I couldn't move it. Like when you see the video camera, it's like I'm moving like real slow to like one side. All of a sudden the wind would just take it, and I'd be looking in the stands, and I'm like trying to fight it back and stuff like that. And it was having a really hard time. On top of that too though, then there were points where like it wouldn't be windy, but it just didn't want to move. And so, and it just happened to be with the base. The camera seemed fine. And like I said, my mom even said this too. She was like, it might just be too cold. And he was saying the same thing too. He was like, it might be too cold, maybe the wind, just like combination of that stuff that was just not, it was like working, like there was certain points too where it was working well, but it was again too, I was really having to fight with it. Like normally it moves pretty smoothly and all this kind of stuff, but it was like really like a real fight for me to get it to move today. And so I felt really bad because there was like some points where like I couldn't follow a play properly because it was not, like it didn't want to scroll, and when it did, it would like move super slow. And so I didn't realize there's a speed dial at the bottom, and he was like, oh, try and like increase that, like switch it, and we're like, it's not moving any faster, like going to one side or the other. And then I moved the speed to the other way, I was like not moving any faster. So it was just really slow today and did not want to move like and then at one point too, like I couldn't move it any further up or down and like this kind of stuff. And so I think too, he also taped the base at one point or something like that because he didn't want the cord on the camera to fall out, because the weight from the cords, I was telling you guys, we had this problem like a couple weeks before. So I think he was trying to like fix that so that the cord didn't come out of the camera. But because of that though, then I think he taped the base down, and then it wouldn't move past a certain point on the field where like I could move it. This was a point when it was moving okay, because like I said, there would be random points when it would be working really well, and then other points when it wouldn't. And I don't know if it was because of the wind or it was just starting to get really cold, like whatever it was. And I didn't notice it so much, like it was just the end of the game, like when it got much colder. It was like different points throughout the game, like at halftime, like all of a sudden it didn't want to move, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to call him over again. He just switched the battery out, and I was like, oh, everything looks good. I'm like scrolling it around, like the whole thing was working. I was like, it's good. I literally like went to go and just kind of move it back into position so I was ready for when the football game started again. Then it didn't want to move back, and I was like, I really hope I don't have to call him over here again at this point, like at halftime, because then he's like going over there and he's coaching the kids and stuff like that, and I was like, I don't want to have to be like, hey, it's not working again. So then I put it down like for a couple seconds, then I picked it back up, and I was like, okay, please work. It was working again. So like I said, there was no rhyme or reason for why it seemed like it wasn't. I think it was again too cold, wind, combination, whatever. He said too, maybe the motor in it was like maybe starting to go, like it's old or bad or whatever it was, but it just seemed like it was super, like I said, it didn't seem like there was a specific reason why it wasn't or didn't want to work. And again too, I feel like if it was like a motor, like more mechanical issue, it would probably just be like it would just not work, or it would just like permanently not want to go to one side or the other or something like that. It wouldn't like sometimes work and then sometimes not. So that's why it feels like more of a cold problem to me, like because again too, electronics get really weird in the cold, which like I said, it's a weird thing though that the camera seemed like it was working well but the motor wasn't. So I don't know, it could have also been possibly that the motor wasn't working on it, but it's very, like I said, interesting technology and all that kind of stuff into how all of it works, and I'm learning all of that, but it was just, you know, not wanting to work today. And I don't know how old it is that they've had it. I really don't think they've had it for that long, but he was even saying to the other team's school, they were sitting like kind of on the other side of the end zone, not like the other end zone, but the other side of the end zone from me. He was like, that's the one we want, because it had a big screen. It was like a flat screen TV that they just had like mounted on the tripod. And then I was looking later, all the dude had was like a joystick, and he was able to just control it and like zoom in and zoom out. And I was like, oh my gosh, he gets to wear gloves. I was like, I can't, because I'm gonna press all the buttons if I had gloves on, whereas he just got to do it with a joystick and like had a little zoom in zoom out thing. And I was like, that is so nice. Plus too, like, he was saying too, he's like, that probably is not comfortable for you, have to look down at the screen the whole time, because the screen's kind of heavy, the one that I have to hold. And he's like, that's probably not real easy for you to hold, you know, and like your arms probably get tired or whatever. He's saying something like that, and I was like, yeah, I was like, that one is really nice. So I don't know, maybe at some point if the motor goes on this one, maybe they'll get another one. It'll look like the one that the other school had today. It's funny though, because I saw some schools have like one of the schools that we played didn't even have one, and I was like, okay, like every other school so far has at least had one, but some look different than others. Like ours looked better than one of the ones that a different school had, I think maybe last week or 2 weeks ago or something like that. But again too, like ours was, it's a nice one, but it was not as nice as the other schools today. I was like, that's a pretty piece of equipment over there. And like I said, even the fact that he commented on it too, and then I was noticing that he just got a joystick and just got to move it around. I was like, I wouldn't mind having that and being able to use it that way. But the thing is, I think you could actually, because it has this little like nut, kind of like a nut and bolt kind of thingy on the bottom of it, I think you might be able to put it on like a tripod kind of in itself, where like I don't have to hold it, and then I could just have, because the like little things that are on the side look like two little remotes, and I think that you could actually take them off and just use them like remotes, which would be really cool. And then it would actually kind of work like the way this other guy's was working. And I'd totally like to know if you can just get one, like just do it with like a joystick. And that was literally what the guy had. At first totally looked like he was just playing like Pac-Man over there or something like that, like old arcade game. But I don't know, it's just I feel so bad, because I feel like they have another camera that's like up on top of, they do it like in the booth, and I feel like they probably have no problems with that camera. Like it's always my camera, and I always feel so bad. I'm being like, hey, there's another problem, this isn't working, and you know, all this kind of stuff. And like to at least be able to show him though that like, look, like it wasn't me, like I didn't hit something, I didn't unplug something didn't just randomly happen, like this is like. And the thing was too, he started off, it wasn't working for him to start off with, and he kept trying to switch cords out and stuff like that. I kind of wonder if it was just from the cold, it wasn't working to start off with, because he was like, oh, like he's like, the zoom in and zoom out's working, but I can't get it to like move. And then he eventually got it to work, and I just wonder if it like warmed up at that point. And so again too, maybe if some points like I wasn't moving it enough, so it was getting cold, and it wasn't, you know, like, so I was just having more trouble with it. And then again too, it would move sometimes really slow, and other times it was moving perfectly fine, like it was normal. So like I said, I really don't know, but I know he was having issues with it to begin with at the start of the game, when he was like plugging everything in and kind of testing everything. And like I said, he kept switching cords thinking like that it was a cord problem or something like that, and I think it wasn't. I think it maybe had to do with the cold, or again too, maybe it was the motor that you know, is pretty much shot or something like that. But again too, I find that weird, because I feel like then it wouldn't work sometimes and then not other times. I really think the weather had a big effect on it. And again too, it's funny because like I said, they're going to be going through the film and like trying to, you know, get the clips and stuff like that. And they're going to see how like I'm recording at one point, and then all of a sudden the camera just gets swept over because of the wind. So I told my dad that already. I was like, make sure you let them know that was not, I had no control over that. And like I said too, at certain points I was fighting the wind to keep it in one spot, because like it start to like, you could feel it start to like move, and I'm like, no, stay where you are. So anyways, next week is going to be just as cold and raining, so I don't think we're gonna have much more luck next week. But here's to hoping, and like I said, that everything works out. But it'll be interesting to figure out how well it works in the rain to top that off. Like I don't know, again too, it's just a camera, like I think it can get waterlogged, so I don't know how well it's going to do in the rain to top all of that off. Like it's no special like waterproof camera, like it's just a regular old camera, like camcorder kind of thing. So like I said, it'll be interesting to see how well that ends up working out next week, if we are going to get the rain that is proposed to us. So anyways though, guys, like I said, I should have Tony's and Caputo's haul, I think, for you guys tomorrow. tomorrow, possibly. Maybe it might actually all have to be pushed to Sunday, but we don't have a Bears game on Sunday to watch, so that's not that big of a deal. But because we have some other stuff going on tomorrow as well, so it depends on if we can go like right after the football practice that they have tomorrow and like the coaches thing they have, or and before we have other stuff that's going on tomorrow. So I don't know when that is tomorrow, but either way, I will, like I said, share with you guys what I have when I have it. But yes, anyways, I'll see you guys in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love if you'd subscribe, and I'll see y'all very soon, shiny faces tomorrow. So bye guys.